Hello everyone, welcome back. Tonight, we enter the hours the narcissist dreads most, the quiet, unguarded space where no contact finally starts working. This is not daytime bravado. This is not public performance. This is night. And the haunting question we're answering is this: what runs through a narcissist's mind when your silence stops being a phase and starts becoming permanent? The answers are darker, colder, and more revealing than they will ever admit. During the day, narcissists distract themselves with noise, attention, admiration, movement. But at night, the noise fades. The mask loosens. And the thoughts they suppress all day begin to surface. They think about you not as a person they loved, but as a source of control they no longer possess. Your absence becomes a pressure point, pressing on their ego until sleep feels restless and incomplete. They replay the last moments of access. Not with tenderness, but with calculation. They scan memory for leverage they might have missed, reactions they could have exploited, weaknesses they could still reach. The silence you maintain becomes evidence they can't ignore. The script failed. And nothing destabilizes a narcissist more than a script that no longer works. The big haunting thought forms slowly, then hits all at once. What if you're not suffering? That possibility terrifies them. Because your pain was proof of their importance. If you are calm, if you are healing, then their influence is shrinking. And at night, with no audience to perform for, that thought circles their mind like a predator. They tell themselves stories to cope. You'll break. You'll reach out. This silence is temporary. These thoughts aren't confidence, they're anesthesia. Without them, the narcissist would have to face a truth they cannot tolerate. You chose yourself over them. And choice is the one thing they believe they had stolen from you. Every night, they measure time differently. Days without contact become tally marks. Weeks become warnings. Each passing moment without your reaction chips away at their sense of superiority. They don't miss connection, they miss certainty. They miss knowing exactly how to pull your emotional strings. And the loss of that certainty feels like psychological free fall. They wonder who you talk to now. Who sees you clearly? Who benefits from the energy they once drained? These thoughts aren't romantic, they are territorial. The narcissist's mind doesn't ask, "Are you okay?" It asks, "Who replaced me?" And that question grows louder the longer no contact holds. At night, they imagine scenarios where they reappear. A message. An apology. A crisis. Anything that might provoke a reaction. But the fantasy ends the same way, your silence. And silence, for a narcissist, is not peace. It is judgment without words. It is power without confrontation. Sleep doesn't come easily. Their body is restless, their mind alert, scanning for proof that they still matter. They refresh old memories the way someone checks a locked door, hoping it's somehow open again. But it isn't. And the realization settles in, you are not waiting. This is only the surface. What the narcissist thinks at night evolves as no contact continues. Tonight, we're peeling back each layer, thought by thought, fear by fear, until the illusion collapses completely. Stay with me. It's about to get far more uncomfortable for them. When no contact is working, the narcissist's nightly thoughts are governed by one core injury: loss of control. Their psychology is not built around love or attachment. It's built around dominance, access, and predictability. At night, when there is no stimulation to distract them, they replay the moment control slipped. Not emotionally, but strategically. Their mind circles the same question: how did you become unreachable? Narcissists regulate their self-worth externally. During the day, they can feed on attention from others. At night, that supply dries up. The nervous system crashes. What remains is an unfiltered confrontation with emptiness. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their dependency. They realize, often for the first time, that their sense of self depended heavily on your reactions. They do not reflect the way healthy people do. There is no remorse, no empathy-based insight. Instead, their thoughts are transactional. They dissect past interactions looking for pressure points, moments where you were vulnerable, compliant, predictable. The fact that these pressure points no longer work creates cognitive dissonance they cannot resolve. A narcissist's mind at night is a courtroom with only one goal: self-preservation. They alternate between self-soothing fantasies and quiet rage. One moment they imagine you still longing. The next, they resent you for escaping. This oscillation keeps their nervous system in constant agitation, making rest impossible. They fear irrelevance more than abandonment. Being hated still proves they mattered. Being ignored suggests they are disposable. So at night, they replay your silence as evidence of ego death. Not because you're punishing them, but because you stopped feeding the illusion that they were central to your emotional universe. Their thoughts fixate on comparison. They imagine you with someone else, not because they care about your happiness, but because replacement equals defeat. The idea that another person now receives the attention, warmth, and responsiveness they once controlled strikes directly at their grandiose self-image. Internally, the narcissist experiences something close to withdrawal. The absence of your emotional reactions deprives them of the dopamine spikes they depended on. At night, this feels like restlessness, irritation, and compulsive rumination. They mistake this discomfort for missing you. In reality, they are missing regulation. They attempt mental rehearsals, what they would say if they reached out, how they would frame themselves as changed, wounded, or misunderstood. These aren't sincere reflections. They are contingency plans. Scripts designed to test whether the old levers might still move you. The longer no contact lasts, the more their internal narrative fractures. They cannot reconcile the belief that they are exceptional with the evidence that you left and stayed gone. At night, this fracture widens. The mind strains to preserve superiority while the body feels the sting of loss. This is the psychological pressure chamber no contact creates. Your silence forces the narcissist into a confrontation they never consented to, facing a self that exists without constant validation. And the longer this continues, the more unstable their nightly thoughts become. The turning point arrives quietly, the night they realize your silence isn't strategic, it's structural. You didn't go quiet to provoke them. You went quiet to detach. This realization hits like cold water. Their mind scrambles for explanations that preserve superiority, but none fit. The truth presses in: you are no longer emotionally available. And that truth begins to shift the balance of power they once took for granted. They feel it in the body first. The old tactics no longer produce relief. Imagined messages don't calm them. Rehearsed apologies don't soothe them. The fantasy of reappearing fails to spark confidence. At night, the lack of reaction turns into a physical unease: tight chest, restless limbs, racing thoughts, signals of a system losing its primary regulator. This is where rage and panic trade places. One moment they resent you for disrespect. The next, they fear you've outgrown them. The oscillation is violent and exhausting. They cannot decide whether to punish you or pursue you. Control, once effortless, now feels unreachable. And nothing destabilizes a narcissist faster than uncertainty they cannot dominate. Their thoughts turn revisionist. They rewrite history to regain footing, casting themselves as the one who left, the one who was wronged, the one who is above it all. But the narrative collapses under one stubborn fact: you did not return. The story doesn't land without your participation. And without an audience, their identity feels unfinished. They begin testing the perimeter: subtle signals, indirect checks, quiet monitoring. Not to reconnect, but to measure potency. Are they still able to provoke a response? Each night without evidence becomes confirmation that the old access is gone. This is the moment power starts to invert. Your non-response becomes a form of dominance they never anticipated. Jealousy sharpens. They imagine your calm, your routines, your steadiness without them. The idea that you are sleeping peacefully while they spiral is intolerable. They tell themselves you're pretending, that healing is temporary. These thoughts are defenses against a deeper fear: you are no longer emotionally reachable. At this stage, their thoughts fixate on timing. If I reach out now? If I wait longer? If I appear changed? These calculations aren't about repair, they're about leverage. The goal is not connection, but relief from the nightly pressure your silence creates. And as nights pass, the urgency grows. They start to feel small. Not inferior, Exposed. The mask that worked in daylight feels flimsy in the dark. Without your reactions to prop it up, the grandiose self has nothing to lean on. At night, they sense the edges of their own fragility, and it terrifies them. This is the plot twist they never see coming. Your absence has become the loudest presence in their mind. Not because you haunt them emotionally, but because you removed the structure they depended on. Control has shifted without confrontation. Power moved without permission. The turning point is complete when they understand one thing with brutal clarity: they cannot force this to end. No contact is working. And the realization that they are no longer steering the outcome marks the beginning of their internal collapse. As nights stack up without relief, the narcissist's internal structure begins to erode. What once felt like temporary discomfort hardens into chronic unrest. Their thoughts loop compulsively, returning to you as the unresolved variable they can't control. Sleep fragments. Mornings begin with irritation. The cost of your silence starts bleeding into every corner of their life. Socially, the mask weakens. Without the confidence boost your reactions once provided, their charm feels forced. Conversations lack energy. Attention from others doesn't land the same. At night, they compare every interaction to the certainty they once had with you, and nothing measures up. This comparison feeds resentment, not insight. They begin to feel exposed in ways they can't articulate. Not ashamed, threatened. The illusion of superiority depended on predictable supply. Your absence removed a key pillar. At night, they sense the instability of their self-image and respond by hardening, becoming more defensive and brittle with others. Anger surfaces, but it has no clear target. They replay imagined confrontations where they win, but the relief never lasts. The body remains tense. The mind stays alert. Rage becomes a substitute for power, a way to feel something other than helplessness. But it corrodes from the inside. They notice a pattern they refuse to name. The people around them feel less invested, less responsive, less impressed. Your silence didn't just remove you, it disrupted the ecosystem that kept their ego inflated. At night, they feel the slow realization that control doesn't regenerate automatically. This is where panic quietly takes hold. They fear permanence. Not the end of the relationship, but the end of access. The idea that you might never return, never react, never validate again creates a sense of psychological free fall. And no amount of distraction fills that space. They begin to watch for signs of you everywhere: mutual connections, online traces, imagined cues. The absence of information becomes information. Each night without evidence of your struggle reinforces the same conclusion: you are no longer oriented toward them. Internally, their narrative fractures further. They alternate between believing they are above it all and fearing they've been discarded. This instability leaks into their behavior: more control, less warmth; more performance, less presence. People feel it, even if they can't name it. What they experience now is not heartbreak. It's ego starvation. A system built on reaction cannot tolerate sustained silence. At night, this starvation feels like anxiety without origin: restless, sharp, unresolvable. And they still refuse to connect the feeling to its cause. This is the consequence no contact delivers without a word. It dismantles the narcissist's illusion of permanence. The belief that they remain central no matter what. Your silence proves otherwise. And once that belief cracks, it cannot be fully repaired. Now we arrive at the truth that reclaims your power. What the narcissist thinks about every night is not love, longing, or remorse. It is loss of control, loss of access, loss of certainty. And that loss hurts them more than any argument ever could. Your silence forced them to confront a version of themselves that exists without your emotional labor propping it up. They think about you because you became unpredictable. Not chaotic, sovereign. You stepped outside the role they assigned you. You stopped reacting on cue. You stopped feeding the illusion that they were central to your inner world. And that decision rewired the power dynamic permanently. Understand this clearly: their nighttime obsession does not mean they value you. It means they depended on you. Dependence masqueraded as dominance for a long time. No contact stripped that disguise away. What remains is exposure, an ego forced to exist without guaranteed validation. Your healing is not invisible to them. They sense it in the absence of noise, in the lack of urgency, in the calm they cannot disrupt. They don't see your growth directly, but they feel its effects. And those effects unsettle them more deeply than confrontation ever could. This is why no contact feels brutal at first, then strangely empowering. You are not punishing them. You are stabilizing yourself. And stability is something the narcissist cannot control, provoke, or dominate. It removes the battlefield entirely. You may be tempted to interpret their suffering as proof of your worth. Don't. Your worth never depended on their reaction. What you are witnessing is the collapse of a system that fed on your availability. Their discomfort is a consequence, not a message. The most important shift happens quietly inside you. As nights pass, your body relaxes. Your thoughts slow. The anxiety that once kept you tethered fades. You stop wondering what they think, because their inner world no longer governs yours. Real power is not who misses whom. Real power is who can walk away without needing resolution from someone incapable of offering it. You chose clarity over chaos, self-respect over speculation. And that choice closed a door they cannot reopen. Let them think whatever they think at night. Let the thoughts spin. They are no longer your responsibility. Your silence is not cruelty, it is completion. You finished the cycle they depended on continuing. Here is the final truth to carry forward. When no contact is working, the narcissist thinks about you every night because you escape their control, but you sleep peacefully because you escape the illusion.